Here it is, folks, the review for May's humble original title, A2Be by Vagabond Dog. I wish I could say it was worth the wait, but unfortunately, A2Be has been nothing but a disappointment and honestly feels like a low point for the humble original program for a number of reasons. A2Be is a point-and-click adventure set in the future where teleportation has become commonplace enough to replace traditional modes of transport. You play as a lab worker for Janus Labs, a manufacturer of this teleportation technology who takes it upon themselves to figure out why their boss is acting weird. It's clear that the focus of A2Be isn't in the gameplay, but rather in its story and world building. There's very little in the way of interactivity and puzzle solving, and most of your time will be spent walking around a few different scenes and buttoning through dialogue trees until you exhaust all the options and wait for the narrative to progress. The game does a good job of building up this world and providing your character with a sense of place within it. There's plenty of backstory and quite a bit of depth to the numerous characters that you interact with. But the whole time I was playing, I felt like the story would have been better told in almost any other format than in a video game. There's so much exposition, so much depth to the characters, and so much to read that as soon as you start to immerse yourself in the story, the dialogue options dry up and you're forced to use the terrible controls and UI to walk around and find the next person to talk to in order to continue the narrative. Which, of course, completely drains any sense of immersion or interest that was beginning to build. All the interactive elements of A2Be really let the game down and simply make it unappealing to play. The movement is just too slow, and the majority of your time will be spent trying to navigate the invisible boundaries of each scene as you try and walk from one place to the other, or trying to figure out exactly where you need to click in order to interact with something in the environment. Then you've got the dialogue exchanges that just take way too long to get through, even when the text speed is turned all the way up. In terms of visuals, the majority of A2Be looks like a lazy flash animation. Some people will appreciate the hand-drawn look to the characters and the environments, but for me personally, it's uninteresting at best and downright ugly at worst. That being said, the game is bookended with these great comic book-esque still animation sequences that are highly detailed, artistic, and just gorgeous to look at. There are only a handful of these in the game, and you get a different one for each ending, which almost makes the game worth playing through more than once. Also, the music is pretty good. There's a nice variance from the driving synth pop to the floaty, spaced-out electro that underscores the narrative well and feels cohesive with the future sci-fi aesthetic. If you didn't see the video I posted earlier this month, the reason this video was so late is that when A2Be was first released, it was a complete technical mess. A patched version was supposed to drop a week later, but that arrived over 2 weeks after the game's release. I would have expected most of the technical issues to be fixed in this patch, and to be fair, every game-breaking bug that plagued me in the first version was addressed, but I still ran into a number of weird bugs, like the first time I booted the patch version of the game and I was dropped into the final scene. Ignoring the technical faults and the troubled release, A2Be is still a disappointment. The music is cool, the world is interesting, and there's some decent sci-fi narrative in there, but the game itself is just so unappealing to play that I have a hard time recommending it to even the most die-hard sci-fi fans.